Effectiveness is a metric that I've started using quite a lot. I don't know if I made it up or not, or if I got it from someone else, I'm not sure. But in my definition, effectiveness is a measure of how good your marketing is at hitting goals. How many people saw your stuff? Then how many people ultimately did the thing you wanted them to do? You're skipping all the other funnel parts and just working with those two numbers, dividing them, and then there's your effectiveness. And you can pick whatever two metrics you want. The great thing about effectiveness is that it's very flexible. You decide what metrics are your inputs. One of the common ways we measure this is by looking at reach and conversions, as in the impressions that they might have had across multiple networks divided by how many people did the thing we wanted them to do. But the reality is you can plug any two numbers into this. They don't even have to be in the same data product. So let's look at the basic one that we do quite often. We're looking at the impressions that we have on ads, organic, and social. These are all the various places where people could have seen my client stuff. Then, if this client has a physical store location or several physical store locations, let's add up all the individual transactions that they had both online and offline. And then, for the effectiveness, it's the transactions divided by the impressions. This is their effectiveness. Because what I want to know is when we invest in new channels to get people seeing their stuff, do sales go up? And then you end up with a chart like this. If you add a trend line, it's easy to see how our effectiveness is changing over time. We can see, for example, that for this particular business, they're getting back on track after a slow winter, but they aren't quite at where they were this time last year. So what do we need to do to fix that? And what you're not seeing in this chart is that actually their overall impressions are actually up quite significantly, and their conversions also appear to be up quite significantly, but the percentage just isn't quite there. So what this is showing us is that, yeah, sales are up, yeah, impressions are up, but overall we aren't quite turning impressions into purchases at the same rate. So are we hitting diminishing returns, or has the client decided to invest in some billboards that maybe aren't, turning the right people into buyers on their products? Maybe they've decided investing in radio ads that are kind of sucky. These are the kinds of insights you can get from an efficiency metric. And you don't just stick with what I showed you just now, impressions and sales. You can use effectiveness for other metric combinations as well.